We're buying and selling hot starts to the season here on the call up today. And we didn't want to do it with like the top prospects because it's just going to be buy. He looks great, buy. And even if not all those guys do well, we're going to lean into the buying a little bit more. Trying to eliminate confirmation bias here. We're going with some of the prospects that I think maybe weren't on a ton of radars. We did mix in some higher profile guys that had some bounce back intrigue, but for the most part, it's guys that I think are probably in the middle of a top 30 in their own team system, or could get there based on whether we're buying or selling what they're doing. If it's a guy that's in the middle of a top 30, this could be, if we're buying, potentially getting into the top 10 or being a top 100 prospect. So we'll provide context for each player kind of in a vacuum as to what we're buying or selling, because I know there's a little bit more nuance to it, but I'm excited to do this, Jack. Like every month or two, kind of check in, see if we're buying and selling a change or something that we're seeing, that's a little bit different, or a hot streak from hitters. And we'll do pitchers later. I just couldn't talk about Quinn Matthews and Klassen and all these guys for like the 15th episode in the last 3 weeks.
I sent you a list last night because I enjoyed Skenes versus Manoah. Did you catch any of that?
The way I always catch them, I pitch by pitch afterwards. Unless, well, when you're on the call, I will watch, but I did not get to catch that one.
No, that's fine.
Bad friend alert.
So what I'm going to say is Alek Manoah looked as good as he has since 2022.
That was cool. I was recording with Peter on the Just Baseball show because I was having Wi-Fi issues. So we were delayed all the way till about 7. And as I'm watching the box score, I was like, there's no freaking way. So I wanted to try to butt it into the Just Baseball show, but it just didn't really fit in there. But that was nice to see. You think Skenes throwing and just that stage kind of like fired up Manoah a little bit more and wanted to remind people like, hey, I was that dude too. Maybe not Paul Skenes, but he was a dude coming up, top 100 prospect, and as a rookie was phenomenal.
So can I tell you, like, I have, doubts that might be the case for other guys. It's like, oh yeah, they may not think about that. And if you listen to the Paul Skenes conversation, I asked him about his matchup with Rhett Lauder, and you asked Lauder about it, and Lauder was like, yeah, like that certainly, built up the hype, and it was impossible to ignore the hype that was around that. And Skenes was like, nah, man, like I didn't realize until after the fact. Like I can say unequivocally, 200% yes. Skenes on the other side boosted up Manoah's, give a shit in that outing. And he threw like it, man. Like he was so sharp, and the fastball looked great. That sinking fastball and that slider, man. Like he bullied Yasmani Grandal twice with that slider. It was ridiculous. But I am going to bug you to just sing the praises of Paul Skenes one more time. I don't know what he's going up, but like it's inevitable at this point that it's happening in the next however many starts. Like could be 1, could be 2, could be 0, could be 3. I have no idea. This guy is the best minor league pitcher that I've ever seen. And I've been watching minor league baseball since I was 15 years old. So that's going on 9 years now. And granted, like I missed, Strasburg through the minor leagues and all that. I really wasn't keeping track like that. We always have the top pitching prospect in the game. And we look at those guys and say, they are utterly dominant. I had so much fun watching Andrew Painter in 2022. I had so much fun watching Grayson Rodriguez in 21. But Paul Skenes blows all those top pitching prospects out of the water. And I have a great time with Job. And I know that, we're kind of going back and forth with the Skenes Job thing. I'm telling you, like, I have derived more enjoyment from watching Paul Skenes, and he is the best pitcher that I have ever seen, not at the major league level.
It's getting to the point now where when we're seeing him stretched out too, because that was the one thing that we were waiting on. And now you're getting to see him go 6 innings. I think you can almost appreciate him even further there as well. When 1, the fastball averaged 100 miles per hour in that start, but 2, the fact that you get to see him turn a lineup over once, twice, and then, certain guys get a third look at Paul Skenes, and the third look doesn't really look any more comfortable than the first pitch that they saw. Like that's when you can really appreciate, I think, a pitcher. And the other side is what we've been talking about with Skenes, which is, we didn't necessarily, especially me, didn't know that he would have this many layers to him with the splinker, with the variations of the slider, with the way that he's locating the fastball. And that's going to help you turn lineups over. Like we watch if you watch a lot of the perfect games or a lot of the most impressive no-hitters, it's a lot of these pitchers, not especially like Felix Hernandez, when I always love to go back and watch. He wouldn't show a pitch until maybe the second time through the lineup. and then he'd kill you with that one. Like, that's what Skenes can do. He could probably go through a lineup, fastball, slider, and then second time around show you the splinter for the first time. He doesn't necessarily need to do that, but he's capable of it. And just knowing that you can do that, I think is the big difference maker. And just that start was, I think, easily one of the most impressive, just because we got to see him do it over 6 innings and average 99.9 miles per hour on the fastball. Tying a bow on the Manoah thing too.
Yeah.
In terms of getting a little bit more amped up, his fastball was up 2 ticks from the last start. He averaged 94.4 miles per hour on the heater. And I think what goes with that is the slider has more bite. I won't pretend to figure out what's going on with him. I think the velocity definitely is part of it. And I think also holding that velocity is a part of it. And command was definitely a big part of it. But sometimes that slider would get big. It seems like it's sharp and harder again. And that resulted in, 12 Ks like we saw yesterday. But on the Skenes side, I mean, what was different for you, I think, in this one that you saw compared to those shorter spurt outings, other than the fact that he threw more pitches, that really has you, you've been gushing about Skenes every time you get to see him every 5th day, but it seems like it's a little different this time from you.
Yeah. And like, I gush about him every time I watch him. I gush about him every time I talk to him, because he rubs me in a way that no 21-year-old should rub you. Like, he's a 30-year-old in a 21-year-old's body. And it is insane. And he's so ridiculously regimented. His day is down pat, and he knows what he needs to do to be one of the best on the planet at what he does. I think what impresses me most about what he's done the last 2 starts, last time at home, it took a bit, and he ran, I think it was like 65 pitches in 3 1/3 or something like that. Do you have the pitch log in front of you? If I'm not mistaken, it was 65 through 4 1/3 or 3 1/3.
For which game?
For Skenes, home against St. Paul, was it 65?
65 pitches, yes.
In what, 4 1/3 or 3 1/3?
3 1/3.
3 1/3. So he came away from that disappointed. And I heard Pirates manager Derek Shelton say that he needs to work on efficiency. Like, that was the first time I've heard something other than building up workload. It was, he needs to be more efficient. He didn't, do a great job with that. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if that's what he said exactly, but I remember that Shelton said something about efficiency. You want efficiency? I'll give you efficiency. 75 pitches and 6 shutout innings. Like, are you kidding me? This guy sets out with a goal and he achieves that goal. And reading some of his quotes that he shared with, MLB, Yahoo, all that, I'm picking my spots for Ks more. He's not trying to strike everybody out. He's getting early, soft contact on the ground. He's got the goods to throw a Maddox. He also has the goods to punch out 20 in a start. And he's one of the very few guys that has had the ability to do both. And the guys that have the ability to do both are perennial all-stars and perennial Cy Young contenders.
That's where the splinter comes in, dude. Because the splinter is that early, weak contact. And it's not all that different from Sandy Alcantara. And that's why Alcantara was able to pitch so deep into so many games. Was the changeup that Alcantara threw was really a sinker to a degree. And it was low 90s, and it was just a ground ball machine. And I think with Skenes, he can make it a little bit bigger with the arm side run and fade and make it more of a swing and miss pitch. But he can also make it shorter, closer to a true sinker, and get that early contact in those ground balls. The reality is, as you mentioned, like, strikeouts, they require usually a lot of pitches. Unless you go 1, 2, 3, it usually requires a fair amount of pitches. So finding that balance there, I think is huge. And I think we really saw it in that last outing, to your point. One other just a little, just housekeeping note. Unfortunately, you mentioned Job. Right before we were recording this, Job was going into his 4th inning of work. He had gone through 3 no-hit in Double-A for the Tigers. And then unfortunately on the pitch, seemed like something just tweaked in his hammy. You saw him kind of go back to his left hammy when trainers and his manager went out there, just kind of pointing to that lower hamstring spot. They were on the mound for a little bit, which gives me some optimism, whereas, and especially the fact they were on the mound for a little bit, which gives me some optimism of, okay, they're talking it out. Maybe he can stay in. And then when he came off, he was walking a little gingerly, but fine for the most part. It didn't look like anything terrible. It wasn't a Justin Steele like collapse, where it looked like he got sniped. Thankfully, it doesn't look too bad, but we'll have to keep tabs on that. It just sucks because Job seemed like he was really starting to settle in and heat up. He had gone, 2 straight really sharp outings and had been at that point, I think 7 straight no hit innings, which is pretty crazy. We'll wait and see what the update is there on Job, but Skenes looks like he should get up there next outing, man. Why? Especially now when we're watching like the guys with hammies and whatever, just get him to the big leagues now. I've seen enough. He's stretched out. He's ready. He can do the rest of the stretch out at the big league level. And I know you don't know anything. So this is just us legitimately having a conversation as if you didn't call the games for, the AAA team that he's currently pitching for. To me, it just seems like he's already, I get, at 50, 55 pitches, you don't want to leave your bullpen, exposed like that. But now it's 75 where the next time out he can go 80. A lot of managers don't even let their guys go 80 anymore anyways if they like a matchup better. So I think at this point, his next start should be in the big leagues. Whether it is or isn't, we don't know. But I think it should, because you can finish the last stages of that buildup at this point at the big league level.
And I mean, dude, we're seeing innings control even with Jared Jones, right? He threw 59 pitches in 5 innings, 59 pitches, 50 strikes, and they pulled him after 5. And the Pirates lost that game. And they said it was predetermined. Like, this was what was going to happen because they are concerned about the long-term health of one of the better pitching prospects in baseball. So I'm with you, man. Like, it's one of those where I see Pirates Circle looking at this Sunday against Colorado or the following Friday against the Cubs or like, a little bit farther down the road. And I'm just like, whenever he goes up, he's going to kill. We know that at this point. They haven't seen him on 4 days rest yet on a 5-day turn because he's always had an off day in there. This is the Tuesday, Sunday week. So he would technically be working on a 5-man rotation with no off day. That would be the first time they see him bounce back on a day shorter of recovery. If they want to see that, great. I have no idea what's going to happen. I can see both sides to it, but this guy is so much better than every hitter that he's seen this year, and it's not close.
It never happens. I pitch it often. I guess I would love to hear the counter argument to this because clearly it just never happens. But I would love to see a 6-man rotation even. That preserves Jared Jones' innings. That preserves Skenes' innings.
Why
we
can't
never
you do
see it?
that?
We never see it. I know the vets like to throw more frequently on. Mitch Keller is going to be pissed that he doesn't throw every 5th day. Like, and when the Marlins,
Mitch Keller a vet at this point, Mitch Keller has an ERA over 5. Like,
I agree. No, I'm just like, Mitch Keller might say, I don't care. I'll take the extra day. Like, why are you talking about me like that? But I know with the Marlins, when they were kicking the tires on that, the idea was, and it was when Sandy was pitching at his best, it was, hey, we want Sandy throwing as frequently as possible. Well, but like that is, I get that. That. That said, I don't know why the Pirates are as good of a fit for a 6-man as like anybody, given that they want to restrict Jones innings. They're going to want to restrict Skenes innings, and they have other bodies in there, several of which though still, it's not like, oh, we need him out there every 5th day. He's a Cy Young contender. So
no, it's Falter, Quinn Priester, like Marco, if he's healthy, Martin Perez. Martin Perez is probably at this point saying, dude, get me on a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, I'm in on that, right? Like, so we'll see what they do, but I would love for that to be considered. Let's talk now. Also, one more thing, though. You just were at a game, or just at a game. You were just calling a game that Aurelvis Martinez went mega deep again. What's that power like in real time? We were going to talk about buying and selling. He isn't a candidate because he was great last year. We talked about the adjustments. We're buying that, and then he's been great again this year with the bat. What was that sound like off of the stick?
The sound is Vladdy-esque. And like, again, this sound, I'm not saying the production, although the production right now, like, it's not like Vladdy is the elite of the elite at this point. But the thing that I've heard from a bunch of people, like Jesse Goldberg-Strassler is in, he was the high A affiliate of the Jays for a little bit, now the high A affiliate of the A's. He lauded the sound off Vladdy's bat. And I was like, okay, like that's different. And you've heard a different sound, right? When I was out on the Cape, Torque had a different sound than anybody else. Heard Andrew Vaughn barrel one up. Vaughn had a different sound than really anybody else. And Vaughn had a different sound than like Bryson Stott at that point. Aurelvis Martinez hit a homer at 113.6, I want to say. That was a different sound.
Yeah.
And Damiano Palmigiani went yard right after, back-to-back homers. Those sounds were night and day.
Yeah. And Damiano can run into it. Like that just kind of shows you. And is just an example of, I mean, this is crazy power that Arovis is starting to really tap into with that lower half being involved the way that it is now. Let's get into these buy or sell hitters so far this season. We got kind of players ranging all over from different orgs and different levels and different, backgrounds and prospect shine. But we'll start with one that's kind of a layup. But we got to fit him in anytime. Zac Veen, Colorado Rockies, off to a great start. Of course, we've talked about the adjustments in the short form YouTube video I put out. If you haven't seen that yet, would love for you guys to go check that out. We'll be doing that every single week to keep you up to date on the minor leagues. Talked about Veen and, getting back to what's natural for him with the leg kick and also just being healthy. And so far this season, the OPS is over 1,000 and he's been putting up numbers. My one concern, longer levered, I can't speak today. Long levers for him. And those guys tend to struggle with breaking balls and swing over them. He's not as long levered as O'Neill Cruz, Ellie, those guys, but He is long levered. And the breaking balls have been the one area where, he has not looked much better. The thing is, he's pulverizing fastballs. He's pretty much pulverizing everything else. So I don't think that that's a reason to say don't buy, but it's something to monitor, especially as, you get up to more challenging competition. You're going to get spun more and more and more. And I think he is going to start to get spun more and more and more. He hasn't seen that many breaking balls relative to fastballs this year. 45% fastball rate. Like, it's just not going to happen as much, especially if he's putting up numbers. That said, I'm buying that Veen is healthy and back. I'm not buying that he is what we were hoping he would be in 2022, which was that like 40-40 threat. I think the power is, more 15 to 20. And that's okay, because the field of hit is improved. I think there's going to be dynamic speed involved, and I think he's an above average regular. That's what I'm buying. I'm not buying superstar Zac Veen, but I'm buying that this guy is a good prospect and a guy that's going to have a nice big league career if this continues, and I'm buying that. I think it will.
For sure. Yeah. I'm just going to kind of lay out the standard numbers for each of these guys and then, give you like any thoughts if I have them, but obviously you're the one in the weeds with this, but I'm checking in on Zac Veen constantly, so I can add a little color to this one. But Veen in 16 games is slashing 327, 431, 582. It's a 1013 OPS. He's 7 for 8 in the stolen base department. And like the indictment on Veen right out of high school, like his first year that everybody thought he was a 50-50 threat, dude got caught 17 times. He stole 36 bags, but he got caught 17 times. He has now become an efficient base stealer. And we mentioned the physique that he has kind of grown into. He filled out while he was hurt, man. Like, he came back this offseason and we watched him on TV on Spring Breakout, and we were like, that's a different looking Zac Veen, a different looking Drew Romo too. But Veen was the one that was like, he looks like a specimen at this point. And if you've got a specimen at Coors Field, he's going to line some balls that like bang off the wall in right center 400 feet away. And some of them are going to get over fences. He's going to be a dynamic, fun player. Does that mean 30 homers? Probably not, like you're saying. But, we were dreaming on a 300, 400, 500 slash line. Could that be what he is at the big league level or no? That's a 900 OPS.
Yeah, I don't think the hit tool is going to be there enough. But I do think that we talk about the guys that grow into the power at the big league level year 3, 4. That could easily be Veen. He's still he still has plenty of room on that frame. Yes, he's added strength for sure, but there's still plenty more. And I'm just going to always call back to it. But it's that Yelich thing again, where like you can't just say, oh, there's no way he's going to, high school guys especially, no way he's going to grow into more power since we haven't seen it by the time he debuts. It's like, I know that it's rare for guys to make a massive leap a lot of the time after they debut, but there's certain archetypes of prospects that absolutely can continue to make massive changes and physical changes as they get to year 3 or 4 in the big leagues. And I think Veen is absolutely that archetype. So I'll never rule it out, especially now that he's elevating as much as ever too. He's cut the ground ball rate this year by 12%. And, with the ball carrying out there, it only takes a couple ticks in the EV department to really see that power end up skyrocketing. So I won't rule it out. I think in the early going, though, it's going to be more of what we talked about. But I think in the middle of his career, he could easily turn into a bigger power threat as he, just kind of matures physically.
Okay, so you are officially buying above average regular.
Yes, I am buying that we are seeing a different Zac Veen this year. So he's
I'm trying to think like overall. Yeah, like overall, you're saying you're buying and not selling.
Yes, because last year I was like, what is this? Like I was buying the concern, honestly. So no, I'm buying that what we're seeing is legitimate. And I think that's kind of the buy or sell aspect.
Got you. Okay. Next guy is Mike Boeve in the Brewers organization. Bove's a tough one. I'm not buying 553. he got the bump up to AA. 13 games, he hit 553. He's now hitting 323 in his first 8 AA games. Triples machine, 3 triples in 8 games. What the hell? But this guy through 21 games between high A and double is slashing 449, 556, 623. 90 plate appearances, 18 walks. That's a walk rate just over 20%. 12 Ks. That's around 15%. So this guy is probably the best bat to ball guy in minor league baseball at this point of the year. Are you buying that he is a rocket ship through the minor leagues?
I think I am. It's a tough one. I agree, because it's such a unique profile, and he's going to have to really hit as a third baseman / first baseman type who maybe plugs in at second a little bit. But I mean, you look at the underlying numbers too, an in zone contact rate of over 91%. The chase rate, you mentioned the walks and the strikeouts, like it's a chase rate below 20%. And that's why you're getting 18 walks and 12 Ks. And there's a question of how much power he's going to hit for sure. But I think as even a gap to gap guy, 90th percentile of 103, it's more than hard enough. And I'd be more concerned if he was putting the ball on the ground a ton, but it's just line drives everywhere and a ground ball rate that's only 36%. So, I mean, I love the swing. It's very simple. It's very contact oriented. You mentioned one of the better bat to ball guys. I am buying that he's one of the better bat to ball guys in the minor leagues because he was in college. And just the question was he going to do it against better competition out of what was he? Nebraska,
Omaha. I have no idea what conference that's in.
No clue. So the question was, is he going to do it against better competition? And so far the answer has been yeah. And I know it's only a 21 game sample, but when you look exactly like the guy that was one of the best bat to ball guys in college baseball, albeit against, more mid-major competition, doing it against high A and double A competition now. Yeah, I'm buying that this guy's a big league bat and I think could be one of the better bat to ball guys in the minor leagues.
Dude, Nebraska Omaha is in the Summit League. Okay, the Summit is fine. Shout out the Summit. Like, always get a team in the NCAA tournament because you get the auto bid and sometimes they make some noise on like the 12 or 13 line. Oral Roberts is in the Summit League. So we should have known that. But other teams in there, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Northern Colorado, Western Illinois, and St. Thomas. I've never heard of St. Thomas baseball.
In Florida or no?
No, Summit. So it's got to be weird neck of the woods. I'll tell you where St. Thomas is right now.
So there's a college in Florida that's not bad, I guess, for baseball. But there's a million St. Thomases.
There's a ton. This one, I'll find that out. But I want to tee you up for the next guy.
Yes.
Next guy is Yohendrick Pinango with the Chicago Cubs. And this guy was going on year 4 in South Bend. It was looking like it could be his 3rd full season in South Bend. By the way, the only guy in the Baseball Reference database named Yohendrick. So he's got that going for him. 115 games with South Bend in 22. He had a 691 OPS. 104 games with South Bend last year. He had a 666 OPS. This year, in his first 18 games, he's got a 1036 OPS. He's slashing 310, 467, 569. 2 doubles, pair of triples, 3 homers, 12 driven in, 17 walks, 9 punch outs, and 75 plate appearances.
So
based on the breakout through 18 games, that's sell, but tell me why you may be thinking buy.
Yeah, I think the statistics would say sell because it's his 3rd year there. And, he's at the same level. A lot of times guys will just naturally kind of settle in. the reason why I almost wish I could go like hold on this one, but the reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic with Pinango, beyond what the narrative would kind of imply, is that I found myself shocked at the numbers the last 2 years. The surface level numbers with Pinango after looking at the underlying numbers. I don't know if there's another guy in minor league baseball that, I mean, this was last year. So you read the numbers. What was it, 666 OPS?
Yeah.
He had a 90th percentile of almost 107 miles an hour and an
Wow.
overall contact rate of 78%. How is that guy that bad last year? And it was kind of the same thing the year before that. And Pinango is a guy that kind of caught my attention in 22, and I really liked the bat speed was undeniable. It was an aesthetically pleasing swing from the left side. Mm-hmm. But I just was like, what is going on? Why can't this guy turn it into production? And then now he's turning it into production. He's cut down the chase. He's making more contact, small sample, but making even more contact now. And there's some subtle mechanical adjustments that I like that are allowing him to use the whole field more. It's tough when it's the third year at the same level, because he could get to AA and just get chewed up a little bit. And then it's like, okay, well, fell for that one. But I look at the data and I'm like, man, I love it. I look at the swing. I love it. I look at the bat speed. I love it. But then at the same time, it's his third year in South Bend. So this is probably the most difficult one for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you feel like he was getting BABIP'd a little bit the last 2 years?
I think yes, but I also think that it was a little bit of like what he was doing in the box, selling out for pull, a lot of B swings mixed in there where, he just could not stay in his base and could not really consistently get his best swings off. And also, I think the most important thing was he was chasing at a 31% clip, which is going to naturally get you into B swings a lot more. So yeah, I do think he was a little bit BABIP'd, a little bit of taking himself out of his best swing, and a little bit of just the approach doing that too.
So can I ask you, do you have average EV in front of you from last year compared to this year? Because 90th obviously doesn't account for the B swings, right? 90th accounts for all the A swings that he ran into, and that's a really good number with his A swings. Like his A swing is really giving us something. But average, I'm curious if overall impact on an average mean basis of all of his batted balls is elevated.
Yeah, let me get back to you on that in a moment, because I think that is a really important point in this too. Because it's like, we know that he could run into balls. Like even when he wasn't going great, we were seeing him get some really good swings off still. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's an interesting one. I think the tangible change in Chase definitely has to make you feel pretty good about what's happening here. But I do also agree that like third year in the same level, but at the same time too, he is not even 22 years old yet.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know, where are you at on this one? It sounds like it's a sell for you.
I guess because I've seen guys be somewhere for so long that they're going to run into a hot stretch, and this is just like opening the year on a hot stretch. That's really how I feel about that. And I'm rooting for Yohendrick Pinango for sure. But like in a loaded system like that, the Cubs have a top 3 system in baseball, probably top 3, top 5, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's hard for me to think that a guy going on year 3 and technically stay 4 in high A is going to break out of this and be a new man. And I'm rooting for it. And like it clearly happens with a bunch of young guys, but usually it happens when you get to double or triple A based on your sheer ability. And unfortunately, like he hasn't played his way past high A previously. He's doing his work now, but again, it's stint 4. I keep coming back to that.
So average EV was 88 last year. It's 90 so far.
Okay.
It's a small, it's 51 batted balls though. So this is like a break my brain kind of buy or sell, because everything I'm looking at from a data perspective looks great, but you can kind of cosplay good data in your third year at the same level sometimes with a nice stretch. But I'm going to go out on a limb here because, again, this is a guy. I mean, I think I even have a Pinango card back there somewhere. Like I believed in this guy a couple years ago. So
you texted me 2 nights ago to buy a Pinango card.
Yeah, because it was like $5. I'm like, you might as well. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to cautiously buy it. But just know that I am prepared to be disappointed on this one. This is a cautious buy, but I'm going to buy it.
A guy that you may not be as cautious with is Carson Williams with the Tampa Bay Rays. Carson Williams, again, he's kind of gone level by level. 2022 entire year in low A. 2023, 105 of his 115 games in high A. Now he's in double. And in double A, this guy was just baseball's prospect of the month. Christian Crespo has been doing a great job writing up pitcher hitter of the week and just did pitcher hitter of the month. And Carson was that guy. A 1007 OPS, slashing 368, 415, 592 as a 21-year-old in double A through his front 18 games. He's got 3 homers, 8 doubles, 10 driven in, 7 bags already. He's not walking. He's still striking out. But we're seeing what could look like the final form of Carson Williams, are we not?
I think we might be, which is the fun part because, and I know we're buying everything so far. I know that we're gonna adjust a little bit. You'll see some sales coming up soon, unfortunately. And I think it was just kind of the way I was putting them in the guys I was most excited to talk about. But you already have 13 hits on breaking balls this year from Carson Williams, and like for reference, I'm pretty sure last season it was 32 or something like that. You know, like that's, if you look at it from like, if you scale it out, yes, it was 32 hits against breaking balls last year in the entire season. That was in, you know, I'd imagine like what was it, 113 games that he played in the regular season last year? 115. So far this season, through the first month, he already has 13 hits against breaking balls. I think that's a huge difference. We knew he always crushed fastballs. He's crushing them this year as well as ever. And the chase has dropped even more. So I think those are just the things that he needed to do, was improve even marginally against breaking balls, cut down the chase, and keep crushing fastballs. He's going to whiff. But like you said, this is kind of the final form here. And I know he's not walking. I think it's mostly because he's just hitting so much. Mm-hmm. And he will walk more because he's not expanding. Yeah, I think this is, again, there's not like a buy of like some major change. It's just, I love the phrase final form, because it just seems like a maturation that we're seeing here that I am buying in the early going. I don't think it's a hot start. I'm sure he'll have some lulls here and there. He's going to be a streaky hitter, but I'm buying that this is a little bit different. And by a little bit different, I think a little bit more mature.
Yeah, and he's not going to hit 360, but even if he hits 260, this is serious production, and he's leaning into the gap-to-gap power, and he's leaning into some over-the-fence power, or at least he's running into some over-the-fence power, shooting for gaps. And if this guy is pacing for 35, 40 doubles in a given season, and he's hitting 250, playing the type of defense that he is, you're okay with the punch-outs, man. Like, that's all right. Give me a 3 true outcome shortstop. I'll take that any day of the week if he's prolific enough in the power department.
And prolific enough with the glove.
Yes.
And we know he's that too. So
it's different when you have a 3 true outcome right fielder. And like, listen, I know that Joey Gallo is a very good right fielder, but the difference between right and shortstop in terms of overall value cannot be overstated.
Oh, monstrous.
Insane. All right, we're going to jump to Gabriel Rincones in the Phillies organization now. Rincones is a guy that we mentioned right before we popped on, passes the eye test with flying colors. Rincones is passing the stat line test right now with flying colors. 13 games in, and he did unfortunately hit the IL. I don't know what with, but Rincones is on the shelf right now. He's slashing 300, 417, 600, so a 1017 OPS in his front 13 games. Already 7 extra base hits in 13 games, 3 doubles, 4 homers. He's 4 for 5 in the stolen base department. He's walking. Feels like he's always going to walk a good bit, but you're seeing the power speed blend kind of rear its head again right now.
Oh, it's fun. And I think there's potentially a big leaguer here for sure, just because of the you said the power speed combination, just kind of a platoon guy maybe down the line. But I just don't see anything too different. I saw him a lot in the Arizona Fall League, just playing with different feels, different setups, different moves. And I just think that at the end of the day, it's going to be a little too stiff to hit enough. And ultimately, from the early ABs I've seen so far, it just continues to seem a little too stiff for him to hit enough at the highest level. But to do what he's doing in Double A, and remember, he was high A all year last year, and then Arizona Fall League, where I think he showed pretty well. I do think that this is a nice trend, and hopefully the injury doesn't keep him out too long. I think this is a positive trend, but I'm selling that he's, anything majorly different other than the fact that he's hitting the ball a little bit harder and he's been a little bit more selective. I don't think he's going to be able to hit enough, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. He passes the eye test so well,
Oh
man.
my God. He looks like you could probably convince him if you convince people that guy's the best player on the field. A lot of the time he's out there.
He's first team.
Yeah.
He's first team all bus, right? He's first team all school bus, the high school kid that gets off, and it's like,
Yep.
wow, you're good.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, we're going to get to Blake Mitchell in a moment, but before that, you're hitting Mets Cubs tonight. You're seeing Shota Imanaga. Did you use Game Time to procure your tickets?
Of course we did. Of course.
Good.
We were even able to use the promo code for this one, so we got the $20 off.
That's phenomenal. All right, so reminder: Just Baseball, all caps, one word, $20 off your first purchase if you are a new sign up for Game Time. Last minute deals. Did you get surge pricing or did you buy too early?
The deal was already just too good. We jumped on it.
Okay, easy. Game Time is an official ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball now. So like tickets are even easier to procure from Game Time. Again, I'm concert scanning left and right. I'm looking at Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm willing to drive to a Monday night concert, maybe a Wednesday night concert too. Maggie Rogers next month, I think like June 5 or something, is a Wednesday. And Indy, I will be posted up there right across from the ballpark. And I got those tickets already via Game Time. But I could wait till the surge pricing or lack of surge pricing, those flash sales, those flash deals kick in, and I could capitalize on that. But a reminder, Just Baseball, all caps, one word, $20 off if you are new to sign up to Game Time. That link is in the episode description, and it is certainly the lowest price guaranteed. So we'll jump on to Blake Mitchell now. First round pick, top 10 pick of the Kansas City Royals last year. And I know that was a pick that you weren't in love with at time of the draft.
No.
Blake Mitchell really struggled at the complex when he got there last year. But he's off the complex now. He's played 19 games in Columbia with the Fireflies at the low A level. And this cat is slashing 275, 444, 507. In 19 games, he's got 9 extra base hits, including 3 homers. He's 7 for 9 in the stolen base department. But the thing that jumps out to me, this guy has 90 plate appearances, 30 punchouts, 20 walks. Is he being pitched around? Like, what's going on here?
I think he's extremely selective. And I think he's kind of leaning into what he probably realizes is going to be what he is, if it's going to work out, which is, turn into a good defensive catcher. He's got a rocket for an arm and is a great athlete, as you alluded to. But if he's going to be a successful bat with that, it's probably going to be power, walks, 3 true outcome with the strikeouts as well. It has been nice to see how much better he has been this year. I mean, the bat speed is impressive. I mean, he can really turn some stuff around, and he's hit some eye-popping home runs already to the pull side. But I do think that there's just going to be a lot of swing and miss. So this is where I kind of need you as what is a buy or sell here? Because I am buying that he is much better this year. And I am buying that there is a big league offensive profile here because he hits the living crap out of the ball and he doesn't chase. But I am selling that he's going to be able to even hit 280. I think you're looking at a below average hit tool. I know he's young. I know he's got time, but with catchers like this, it usually isn't going to get that much better from a hit tool perspective, especially this kind of archetype.
Yeah. Tell me if this is too low of a bar to set. Ramon Ramirez is a top 100 prospect. He is the only Royal in the top 100. Are you buying that Blake Mitchell is a top 100 prospect? Is that the right bar?
Yeah, he's a top 10 pick. That is the right bar.
Okay.
I think that's fair. I'm going to say no. And it stinks because I like him as a prospect. Like, I think he could be that 50 to maybe even 55 future value guy that's caught in between.
You haven't done the Royals yet? Like, he probably is in the he's probably 2 or 3?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I'm taking him over, obviously, guys like Gavin Cross and whatever, but
right.
I really like what I've seen, and I think he's going to lean into that 3 true outcome power catcher, and it's a lot of the pressure is going to end up coming on the defensive ability and how good of a defender he becomes, because that takes a lot of the pressure off of the bat. I think that this is a nice trend. I think that he is a good prospect, but are we buying that he's going to be a top 100 guy this year? I'm going to say no. So I guess he's a sell, but that stinks because, like, again, that's why it's relative. Like Pinango, I'm buying that he's going from non-prospect to a top 20 guy in that system potentially. Or with Blake Mitchell, we're saying, is he going to be the top 10 pick, top 100 prospect that, I think people are probably hoping and expecting now that he's had this nice start. I don't quite know. I don't know if I'm in on top 100 prospect just yet.
Okay, so I just went to Cal Raleigh. I went to Cal Raleigh's baseball reference page to see if he was a top 100 guy on Baseball America, on Pipeline, or on Prospectus. And I didn't see it populate on either of those 3 databases at any point. So Cal Raleigh was a guy that walked a bunch, struck out a bunch, hit 29 homers in a minor league season in 2019. So obviously it's different with this being a high school guy last year and like him being way younger. But Raleigh is like that 3 true outcome catcher. And he was probably one of the guys that came with the most pedigree. Because when Zunino first came up, Zunino was a different profile, right? He wasn't already leaned into the 3 true outcome thing versus Raleigh was like kind of already leaned into it pretty much at Florida State too. And the fact that that guy was never really a top 100 prospect, like, I mean, how can you convince me that any 3 true outcome catcher is a top 100 prospect?
It's tough because it's just the odds are so stacked against those guys because is he going to hit enough? How's the defense going to look? And so many things that are just very hard to quantify until they really get to the big leagues. And Raleigh just really put it all together, later in the minor league career, and then just had that monster year and it translated. But that's a very volatile profile. And I think that's part of the challenge here with the Mitchell. I'm really excited about what he's doing, and I think he can be really good. And that's the tough part with these kind of guys. You have a guy with a 70 arm with plus power and a good approach at this point. Like, he could make a swing adjustment and all of a sudden he's going nuclear. But at this point, I haven't seen anything changing enough to upgrade from that, below average hit tool. And that's I guess the aspect I'm zeroing in on here. And that I can't buy just yet.
You want to talk about another Royals catcher?
Yes.
Literally a level above Blake Mitchell. Carter Jensen was a 3rd round pick out of high school in 2021. Jensen last year, he spent the entirety of 22 in low A at a 745 OPS, 720 OPS in his first full year in high A Quad Cities. He's back in Quad Cities now. And in 22 games, Carter Jensen has a 997 OPS, 338, 490, 507. 3 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, 8 for 9 in the stolen base department. Shout out you, Mr. Catcher DH, man. And he's walked more than he struck out. 22 games, 22 walks, 19 punch outs. Based on the way you stacked him, I feel like you're buying Carter Jensen, and the bar is relatively lower. Like, I'm not going to ask you, is Carter Jensen a top 100 prospect? But like, he and Blake Mitchell kind of moving forward, which one are you picking?
Oh, well, that's tough.
That's bar. Like, there you go. Bar. Buy or sell. Carter Jensen could be better than Blake Mitchell.
Oh, yeah. Let me just start with Carter Jensen and what I've seen. A tangible swing adjustment and setup adjustment, starting with his hands higher. And I've seen that now for a lot of guys that were struggling to tap into power and struggling to keep their weight back, and also just struggling to enter the zone the right way and stay there, benefit from that. So his hands are higher, and not only is he making more contact, he's hitting the ball harder. And it's a really sweet swing from the left side. It's a sub 20% chase rate. And the EVs have been a lot more impressive, this season. I'm taking Blake Mitchell off the upside for sure. Because, Mitchell, I think the Cal Raleigh comp is like perfect. Like that is what he can be with Jensen. Like it's a lot of pressure, I think, on the field to hit because the power has improved. And, we saw him launch a 108-mile-an-hour home run the other day. And like there's some sneaky pop to the pull side. But I think what stands out the most to me with him is walking a ton, as you mentioned, and also just that feel to hit improving so much more. In addition to a little bit of the uptick in EVs, because I think before, spraying line drives, they just were hanging up a little bit longer. Now they're splitting the gaps or sometimes beating outfielders over the head. Ultimately, I'm taking the upside of Mitchell because of the power, because of the defensive upside. I think with someone like Jensen, it's I don't think you can dream on as much defensively. I think he can be a nice, decent catcher, but I don't think it's gonna. With Mitchell, you can dream on one of the best run stoppers in the game, and a guy that if it all comes together, blocking and receiving wise, which I think it can because he's such a good athlete. Who cares if he's hitting 220? Because he could hit you 30 bombs and play phenomenal defense. So I'm going Mitchell, but I am buying that Jensen has made changes and is a legitimate, prospect here for the Royals.
Good job setting a new bar. I appreciate that. To further your selling point, though, you're talking about his improved feel to hit. Yeah, we're talking about a 22-game sample of a guy that in low A hit 227 and in high A last year, the same level, hit 211.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's not like he's walking way more now than he ever has before. Obviously, the walk rate's higher, but like this dude walked 92 times last year. The walk rate was high. He hit 211, but had a 356 OBP. So this is a guy that like already had that in his toolbox. We're just seeing it to the nth degree right now. And you're talking about the better feel to hit from a guy that hit 211 last year in 116 games. So it's not like a 211 hitter is turning into a 300, 320 hitter.
No, but I am going to buy the improvement. And, I think so. The feel to hit was really what I think scouts kind of liked about him and why he was a top 3-round pick. And it just did not really show itself at all in the first couple of years. So I think that's kind of shined through a little bit now too. And he also did have a nice finish to the year last year as things, progressed. And I think over the last 20 games had an 822 OPS, and that was at high A. So just still at 20 years old, I am buying that Carter Jensen is improved and I think has found something here this year as it's still only his age 20 season. I do think something's clicked for him, but I'm still taking the upside of Blake Mitchell.
Cool. Staying in the American League Central, Alek Manoah of the Cleveland Guardians. And Mooney was 7th round last year out of Duke. Yeah, 7th round last year out of Duke, 21-year-old. Alek Manoah in 17 games with high A Lake County at this point is not walking. 2 walks and 70 plate appearances. Don't care. Hitting 318 with a 357 OBP and a 621 slug. In 17 games, he's got 10 extra base hits, 5 doubles, 5 homers. He's 3 for 4 in the stolen base department. I don't know really anything about this guy, but I feel like you do because he's a Dookie.
Yeah, and as much as I want to believe in another Blue Devil story, I'm probably gonna have to sell this one.
Oh man,
yeah, I'm sorry. It's been fun. I mean, it looks like he might be a good find still in the middle rounds. Just with the ability to play solid defense on the left side of the infield, kind of a utility type potentially. But I mean, the guy has a 978 OPS right now, and I just don't see it sustaining. I think there's some bat to ball skills lacking. You mentioned not walking, like he's very aggressive, and he hasn't even really been hitting the ball that hard either. It's been pretty remarkable. Going back and just looking at all the balls that have fallen, like it's been one of the better stretches I've seen of batted ball luck. Look, I hope it continues, and I hope to be wrong about this one, but he has not hit a ball above 102 miles an hour yet.
Really? And he's got 5 homers?
Yeah. Like that's crazy, dude.
That's wild.
So I will probably lean into the sell here, I think. Unless I'm missing a batted ball here or there, regardless, maybe there's 1 or 2 that are missing. Not very many batted balls above 100 miles an hour. Pretty remarkable stuff, to be honest. And maybe he's just one of those guys that always outperforms what you expect, but also kind of helps the case that he went 0 for 4 last game with 4 punchies. Again, I want him to succeed. But when I look at the swing mechanics and then you look at the hits and the way that they have fallen, I'll sell this hot start, unfortunately.
Whatever, man. That's sad. You're definitely missing like a 119 or something. But we jump to another guy that's like sort of kind of in the American League Central. I think he gets an honorary AL Central badge. Deyvison De Los Santos, formerly the Rule 5 pick of the Cleveland Guardians, now back with the Arizona Diamondbacks, repeating Double-A. This is a different Deyvison De Los Santos from the one that we saw last year that turned it into a head scratcher of all head scratchers. And the Guardians were scraping, looking for power. They thought they found it, but like he's 20 and like a young 20, I think. No, he's about to turn 21 in June. So yeah, he's an elderly 20 years old. Deyvison De Los Santos, though, through his first 21 games back with Amarillo after OPSing 730 last year, is OPSing 1113, one of the best in the minor leagues. He's slashing 377, 430, 682 with 7 homers and 18 driven in. Yeah, he's playing in a very hitter-friendly environment. Very, very, maybe the most hitter-friendly environment. But, like, those numbers are undeniable at this point. Do you think he got really comfortable in big league spring training? Like, he's just riding that high right now?
I think so for sure. But I also think that, there were some tangible adjustments that date back to last year. And, I didn't get the Rule 5 pick, but we did talk about maybe why they did it. And we had a side-by-side. I think I tweeted it out around that time of De Los Santos' swing in the first half of the season and then a setup and swing in the second half of the season. And over the final 50 games last year, he hit 312, 333, 580. Doesn't walk. He had a 3% walk rate in that stretch, 26% K rate, but he hits the crap out of the ball. And he had made a mechanical adjustment that was allowing him to elevate more, to use the whole field more, and to hit the ball harder. So that dates back to last year in a large sample. Then you have the opportunity to be in big league spring training, where I know like it's unfortunate that he gets returned, and I'm sure it was disappointing, but I know that was probably a very cool opportunity for him to learn a lot from a lot of big league hitters and get that confidence. Like a team, believe that you could make the leap all the way to the big leagues. And even if you don't, like, I think that should instill confidence. Yeah. He's going to be a guy where the underlying data is always going to have some red flags, like high chase, high whiff, whatever. I just think he's going to be a guy that also outperforms that. Going to be frustrating, going to be streaky. Also, when he's hot, could be unstoppable through stretches. I'm buying it. I think that De Los Santos is what he's going to be, which is, you get to the higher levels, that walk rate continues to maybe drop a little bit more, and that strikeout rate continues to rise a little bit more. But I just see a big league role for this guy with the way that he's able to hit for power and surprisingly still, make enough contact and the improvements that we continue to see and how young he is. I'm buying it from the stretch of last year, the narrative, obviously, with big league spring training, and then just seeing those mechanical adjustments continue to be applied this year as well. Cool. I think you got to be pumped for the D-backs. You basically got a free $50,000, and then De Los Santos maybe got a little bit more mature. Like it's almost like the soccer situation on loan. A guy goes out there, you get paid, and then he comes back and he comes back better. Like I think that's a little bit of it too. But I do want to give the D-backs credit. Like he figured something out with them, and that's why they lost him. But it worked out.
You know what that does? Like, if you want to think about it tangibly, like that allows Arizona to hire a nutritionist for the year in Amarillo. You know what I mean? Like it's something like that where it's, hey, we just ran into $50,000 of free money. We can push it to other people and we can like up it. But it also is just like, what do we do with it? We're budgeting for increases anyways. Like hire somebody to like worry about something else that you didn't have the bandwidth to worry about. Like that is a fun thing to think about.
Put it towards a new stadium. How about that?
No, shout out the B guy. I like the B guy. That's my guy.
Okay.
What do you think of him?
The B guy? It was pretty cool. That wasn't even why I said the stadium thing was just the roof apparently doesn't even work.
Really? Does Lone Depot's roof not work, by the way? It was raining.
They just want it to be open all the time. That's a whole nother story. But I think they need a new stadium. Like it's kind of like it needs some work.
I guess.
Put De Los Santos money that way.
They need to not have the queen bee post up right behind home plate.
That also is true.
Jake Gelof. We've got two more guys. Jake Gelof of the Dodgers in Lowe Rancho. He is teammates with Zaire Hope. He's teammates with Josue DePaula. Before we get to Gelof, though, Aram, who is Geral Perez? This 19-year-old from La Romana in the Dominican Republic. 20 games in Rancho at this point. He's slashing 324, 440, 581. 7 doubles, 4 homers. He's punched out 20 times in 91 plate appearances. This is coming off of a 2022 stint in the DSL where he had an 871 OPS. Last year, 53 games of the complex and 892 OPS. Got off the complex as an 18 or in his age 18 season. Who is this guy? Like, is he the next top 100 guy?
Probably. I'm already stressed enough trying to buy and sell 1 month into the season on these guys. And now you're going to ask me about this dude. Like, it is wild what he's doing. Also, if you look at his setup, he's like upright and closed. And like his foot almost looks like it's 4 or 5 inches away from home plate, but has no problem just getting it out. Like, just doing damage. So, I mean, I'm interested for sure. I have no idea about this guy, though. Like, I got to do more of a dive. I will say it looks like he could end up being the next Dodgers. Like, where did he come from, guy?
Man.
Pretty impressive. The bat speed's impressive, too, and I like the swing.
Dude, come on. That's crazy. That sucks for the rest of the league. It's awesome for the Dodgers. Look at you guys. All right, Jake Gelof is the guy that we actually had written down. Gelof is slashing 301, 454, 521 his first 20 games in Rancho this year. He is the younger brother of Zac Gelof, who we know is one of the more underrated second basemen in baseball. He's buried in Oakland right now, but he looked really good as a rookie last year. Zac Gelof at this point, or Jake Gelof, pardon, at this point, has 22 ribbies and 22 walks in 20 games. He's too good for low A.
Yeah.
But is he a guy that can be a legitimate big leaguer for the Dodgers?
I mean, this might just be one of those guys where I just don't like the mechanics and I'll just continue to doubt it. And then he just keeps hitting at each stop and I'll just be wrong. But when I look at the swing mechanics, I see a guy that's going to get chewed up a little bit against better competition.
Okay.
And I know that he can really get into it pull side and he can really elevate. I'm just not buying that swing and the lack of body control and some of the movement. There's a lot of pre-swing movement. And I don't like the moves for the most part. And I just don't think he's quick enough to get away with it. I think there is some good bat speed, but I think he is not quick enough to get away with what he's doing. And I don't see a good enough, I'm a little bit out of my A swing. I don't see much of an ability to still do much damage when you get out of your A plus swing right now. So I'm going to sell, and I do think it's a college kid doing it against, low A competition, unfortunately. Does hit the ball hard. We saw the numbers that he put up in college. He's definitely an intriguing prospect, but I'm selling that, he is, anything more than what he was at the draft, which was kind of power potential. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he can hit enough. I think he's still kind of exactly that. And I don't feel any more confident one way or another about him, based on this nice start to the season.
Yeah, we see guys like this every year where they're assigned to a level that's too low for them, and
it's kind of telling in itself, to be honest.
For sure, and we're seeing it right now in the Nats system too with Gavin Dugas. That was a guy that I was going to throw at you, but Dugas was a guy that won a national championship at LSU last year. I think he's been in Fredericksburg for the entire time. The Fred Nats, like he's been in low A as a college guy that was an everyday, I think, shortstop or second baseman at LSU last year. It's just one of those where, okay, it's great, but you're older than all these guys. And like, you've seen this caliber pitching for the last 3 years in the SEC. So like, let's see what you do against better competition. And it's not their fault. It's just like, let's wait and see.
Yes. I just can't buy it.
Yeah. So last guy that we got to talk about here is Dyan or Dyan Jorge?
I think it's Dyan.
Dyan Jorge. Okay. Dyan Jorge with the Colorado Rockies. 18 games in high A Spokane as a young 21-year-old. Just turned 21 a month ago. Slashing 324, 432, 382 in 815 OPS. He is not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he's going to hit the ball around the ballpark. Amador is the gold standard in this organization. Is he Amador Jr.?
No. If that's what I'm buying, what we should, and I guess for future, this is what we should do, is you just bring a question and I just buy or sell that instead of like I'm ambiguously trying to buy and sell what these guys are doing, and it stresses me out. So hey, we learned, we get better. And I hope you all still enjoyed this episode.
It's called growth, people.
I'm selling that question for sure. But yeah, that is the way we should approach it moving forward. Also, by the way, like if you those of you that are listening, and you know, if you're on YouTube, but even if you're just listening on audio and want to shoot us a tweet or whatever, if you got feedback, like something like segments you love for us to do, like ideas, thoughts, we're all ears. Like that sounds. It's a long season. Like we're down for whatever. Like we'll get creative. We have no problem with it, but always want to hear what you guys want from us.
And not only are we not stubborn, we're also both very unconfident in everything we do. So like if you have a thought, throw it our way and we might just change to cater to you guys.
Yeah, I might just completely cater to you. Like that, it's very possible.
I might.
I mean, I definitely vie for approval. So let's talk Jorge. Great field to hit. And I think from that perspective, yes, absolutely. Like he is probably the next best bat to ball guy in that system. And right there with Amador, who, by the way, we got to talk about like concerningly slow starts.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He's 21 now. And I've said to myself, oh, we'll just wait till he fills out. When's it going to happen, man? Like, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't see enough violence in the swing. It's a lot of ground balls. I just don't see this translating enough into being an above average regular at the big leagues, because you got to be able to hit the ball harder than this. And like, at what point does he start to grow into more pop and just generate more bat speed and violence? So I do think it's a great field to hit. I think it's 20 power. So like, if it's 20 power, how do you carve out a big league role? Walk a ton, which he is very selective and that helps, and play good defense. And he's a pretty good defender, but I just don't think there's enough impact there to be an everyday player.
20 power in the lower levels needs to look like Chandler Simpson.
Yes.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles at this point, because we've seen Nick Madrigal get up thinking that the hit tool was going to be the end all be all. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter if he has 20 power. He's going to hit 300.
And he hit the ball harder than what Jorge's doing, even at 21 years old.
There you go. But like, you know, we talk about all these guys that have like 20 to 30 power. You need something that elevates you just from like putting bat on ball consistently. And Madrigal didn't have that. And, you know, he's still getting some MLB run, but like there are better options. Like nobody is saying, oh, we need to acquire Nick Madrigal at the deadline right now. Nobody feels that way. So you need to possess Chandler Simpson type speed if you're a 20 power guy.
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of the problem here. So I'm going to sell that Jorge is, you know, he has been stealing bags more, and that's been great to see too. But, you know, I just don't know if that's and then the second the hit tool starts to, you know, tick down a tad when you're playing against, you know, upper level competition, then it really becomes more of a, oh man, how is this guy going to help us? You know, what's he going to do to get to that, you know, 700 OPS? It becomes very difficult. So I'll probably sell the performance on Jorge, but for future episodes, we'll have you just provide a question based on the player's start, and then I'll buy or sell it based on that. Guess we had to do this to figure that out.
Yeah. Trial by fire.
There we go. Again, anything else that you guys want, let us know. We're always open to that feedback. And you know, if it is a terrible idea, I'll be honest, like that
we've got enough confidence for that.
Yeah, I would say that will override the people pleasing. That will. So, but you know what? I won't say anything else. So just want to hear ideas. No one will tell you it's a terrible idea. We just won't use it. But thank you so much as always for listening. The bonus episode, we just put out a mailbag answering all of the prospect questions from subscribers. That was awesome. You can subscribe to that with the link in the episode description. And we will be talking Mariners prospects later this week. Talk to you then.